Road Atlanta did not disappoint with its reputation predicting unpredictability. Even with minutes left on the clock, the podium finishes were turned on their heads. But the Georgia Classic ends our run through the South and starts the northern half of the America's leg in the season. Watkins Glen offers a long lap, faster corners, and plenty of long straights. But its barriers are dangerously close to the pavement, meaning mistakes could still bite you in the blink of an eye. We'll see if this old school track claims new victims as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth, covering the prototypes and GTLM classes, is Bill Soups On. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Taylor, as many tracks go, sometimes they wind up being known more by their nickname, and here for most of us, it's just the Glen.
Yes, indeed, Joe, and welcome everyone to Watkins Glen International. This beautiful track was opened in 1956 with a 3.4 mile, 5.4 kilometer, 12-turn circuit. Located in Watkins Glen, New York, this track has hosted some of the biggest endurance races and sprint races across the world, such as the 6 hours of Watkins Glen and many more events. To give you, the fan, to see what it is like to take on Watkins Glen, let's go on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Taylor Burris and the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Watkins Glen. Down into the 90, this is a great place to pass, but with the downhill braking, you've really got to be careful not to overshoot it. While you've got a lot of paved runoff, if you kill your speed on the exit, you're going to pay for it by the time you hit the backstretch. Even though the S's are pretty much a single file affair, it's still easily flat out, so the drivers behind will be catching a huge draft on you all the way up the hill. Once you hit the backstretch, they're likely going to be closing in quickly, and if they've timed it right, you could be helpless. The real danger isn't just in losing a spot, it's the fact that the next time you brake, it's for the inner loop. This chicane is notorious for wreaking havoc when cars go side by side. It's best if you sort it out by the time you're navigating through here. That then throws you directly into the carousel. This long banked bend requires quite a bit of patience so that you don't understeer your way into the Armco. Then, before you know it, you've got to switch sides to set up for the chute. When it comes to corners you don't want to overcook, this one ranks pretty high up there. There's no place to save it on the outside except for just plowing into the tires. As we come to the lowest part of the course, you'll be braking for the toe of the boot. You might see some passes here if someone catches a good run on their opponent. But as you can see, the best way through is to give yourself a nice late apex and confidently apply the power. This steep uphill climb is going to punish anyone who hesitates by sucking up all of their speed. Because of that, this run to the heel of the boot often sees pass attempts. Now, they don't always go off, but you've got to have your head on a swivel depending on who's behind you. After that, you hit what I consider the toughest corner of the track, turn 9. It's got a crested turn-in, it's off camber, and the barriers on the exit are very, very close. No matter which way you lose it, it's likely you'll be catching damage. Then, into the penultimate turn, drivers will need a big lift and a fair amount of accuracy to carry speed through it. That takes us to the final corner, where it's almost like a street course. Understeer and you'll be digging your car out of the tires. But hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Watkins Glen. Nothing like a lap around the beautiful hills in upstate New York. And as I said, it is round 4 here, so the points have been laid down. Things have changed a little bit, but as always, Bill will keep us up to date on the stories.
The ice caps are melting, the rainforests are shrinking, and Rutger Kevs leads the prototype standings. 3 signs of the apocalypse. Not quite, though. Global climate is cyclical, trees regrow, and drop rounds should restore order to the overlay. That said, Kevin O'Keefe has been able to avoid disaster, which is more than can be said about the other names below him. Stephen McGarvey does have a pair of runners-up the last 2 times out. Wins have gone to Joan Ulmer, Billy Smith, and Jason Girard. One final note on this one, we hear that Kevin O'Keefe's wheel is not working today, so he's not going to be here. So he'll get to take advantage of those drop race opportunities. Let's go down to the GTLMs, where it's a complete contrast to what O'Keefe has done in the prototypes, leading that class thanks to consistency. Alex Simonik is leading thanks to, well, winning. 3 for 3 so far, while winless Mike Young has yet to miss a podium finish. A couple of rookies are next with William Laster and Olivier Turcotte. And then there's the veteran, Jason Deep Freeze DeVries. He's beginning to get a rhythm. Was second last time out. We go down to the GTDs. This is the AM class down here. Mike Major is up by 8 points on veteran AM driver Kevin Santana. Now, this is interesting. Dawson Brock has 2 wins in the only 2 races that he's participated in. He missed the first race again. So once again, when drop races come in, look for Never Say Die Dawson Brock to move up in the standings considerably. Shane Hunter and Tim McLeese are the other drivers down there. Finally, we go to the team championship, which is beginning to take shape a little bit. SRN Orange, that's got Mott, McGarvey, McLeish, and Young. No really giant names there, leading by 24 points over the other teams down there. The one to watch out for, making their presence down in 4th. Warm-up lap. That's Kevin O'Keefe in that one. Topic, Hunter, and Slavonic. Some veterans down there that usually don't get a lot of attention, doing a good job getting their team onto the overload. Joe?
Thanks for that, Bill. As well, just in case we get new viewers watching, this is a relatively popular series. Let's head over to Taylor to see what the race details are.
Of course, and this is our 4th round of our 14 race schedule here for the season 8 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. We have 3 different classes with, of course, our top fastest class, the prototypes with the HPD ARX-01, our GTLM class, which is a mix of our pro and amateur drivers with the Porsche 911, Ferrari 488, Ford GT, and the new BMW M8. And then, of course, our GTD class, which is our AM drivers in this class, which is the Mercedes AMG and the Audi R8. Of course, these drivers are allowed to make any adjustments needed for their pit stops in order to have the best possible chance to win their class. Of course, the only difference is that their fuels are restricted, so there will be a required pit stop later on during the race. We'll have to keep an eye on seeing when those pit stops will be. And then, of course, the race is a 60-minute race. But one of the big things that's interesting is these incident caps. 24 incident points. That means if you go off track, make contact with a barrier, another car, spin out, that will rack up incident points. And once you hit that big number 24, well, unfortunately, your day will be done and disqualified. So, Joe, a lot of things to look forward to in tonight's race here at Watkins Glen.
Certainly, and we always have stuff to look forward to, like Mother's Day coming up. And if you want to find a unique gift from Mom and do some good at the same time, we have a great option for you. Block Industries employs men and women who need a second chance in life, and they train individuals in job and life skills. These individuals use the skills they are taught to create unique handmade gifts that Mom will love. Block is working to change a community one life and one job at a time. Check out their Etsy page at etsy.com/shop/Block Industries. Enter a coupon code iRacing, just iRacing, at your checkout and save 10% on a great gift for Mom or maybe for yourself. Once again, that is Block Industries, BLOC with no K. The link is in the YouTube description if you need it, and use that coupon code iRacing to save 10% on your order. Taking a look at qualifying, we've got a few names up there, but before we get to that, real quick, I want to check in with Bill on the weather, because I know it's been changing quite a bit. I know for a brief while during practice it was well over 100, but it looks like things have cooled down a little bit, Bill.
Pretty day here in New York. The two-dimensional fans are quite comfortable. You see the air temperature is 75. Track temperature, though, 86. Now, all things considered, that is pretty nice. I don't think grip should be an issue. We see that the sky is relatively cloudless. We have a little bit of little floaty clouds coming across there as we're riding on board. Careful, we watched John Ulmer almost lose the cheese off the pizza. But I think we're going to be in good shape. Should be a good day. Look at that beautiful New York sky pushing down on the track.
Absolutely. So don't want any sort of strangeness going on out there. It is already chaotic enough. We completely missed it last time around. Billy Smith sits in second in the qualifying. He's still got about a 10th up to Jason Gerard. Poor Billy has been snake bit once again. Got DQ'd, of course, at the last round at Road Atlanta through probably a little bit no fault of his own, at least in the case of the last incident. Just unfortunately was shoved off track. Let's go to Carter Kundinger sitting in fourth here in the qualifying as he gets ready to finish his lap. And it's going to be faster, 133.6. That's actually going to bump him up to third, ahead of Scott McGarvey, last season's champion in this car.
Competition up here, very, very steep. One name that we don't see here today, unless I'm missing it, I don't see Syondra, so he'll have to take a drop race.
Well, and that won't be the first time that he'll have to take a drop this season. Remember, last race, he wrecked out when his screen froze. Wrecked in the S's at Road Atlanta and was pretty much out on the spot. This is Wilson sitting down in 7th. That last lap, not improvement. Looks like an out lap for him. So let's jump over to Billy Smith, who's towards the end of it. As, he's currently sitting in 2nd. Go ahead, Bill.
We have no evidence that Syondra's screen actually froze. We just have his word for it. I mean, that's been my excuse many a times when I've done something silly.
I was gonna say we have his evidence in him saying something, and then you stopped me at the before I got there. So
that's his story, and he's sticking to it.
All right, Bill, ever the conspiracy theorist.
That's right.
So Billy Smith onto the front stretch. He's got 1.12 of a second to try and make up. And he doesn't this time because he had an off somewhere around the track. So we're going to go look at Scott McGarvey with how he's rolling. Now, Taylor, it's been kind of fascinating down in the GTDs. It seems like it's a little bit everywhere, even though we've had 2 of the same winners in the 3-round with Brock. But you look at majors, you look at Santana, and it's kind of a crapshoot because they seem pretty evenly matched.
It is. It's quite interesting to see how these drivers are matching up against each other throughout this season. Of course, Dawson Brock, who we know well known as an oval driver, coming down racing sports cars, is doing quite well. But then there's drivers who we thought that would do well, such as Kevin Santana or Scott Corbin, who we thought would come up through the ranks real quickly, be dominating, but yet have had struggling moments throughout the season. So we'll have to keep an eye on these drivers to see if they can recover. Thankfully, it's still early enough into the season to where they can make good recoveries before it's too late. So we'll have to keep an eye on such drivers. And then, of course, Mike Major, another driver who I just got to say, stellar performances this season, as always, usually starting somewhere in the mid-pack, back of the pack, but yet finds a way to work his way up through the field and get good results. So excellent job for all these drivers. Looking forward to seeing what they can do tonight, as well as we go later on into the season.
Yeah, Major's following what he does. He's 9th in order right now, but watch him work his way through the field. That's what he does.
And Billy Smith, let's see what he does with this lap around. Comes across a 33.4. Oh, he is 2/100ths off of his best lap with that one. Trying awful hard to try and get Jason Gerard off of there. So this is John Ulmer, who's not having the greatest of qualifying so far. At 33.7 does jump him up to 5th. That'll be the inside of the 3rd row. Still not typical of what we've seen out of his speed. So we're taking a look at Green now.
Yeah, Ulmer opened the season with a win. Then he had a 29th, or excuse myself, a 7th and a 13th after that. So yeah, it's been a rough start for him. Usually he does well on the American section of the skid.
What about Carter Kundinger in 4th? Oh, another non-lap for him. Must have had an off. They're running out of time to try and get ahead of Jason Gerard. And this last lap for him does not count as well. This is going to be his last time to go around. They're running roughly 133s, 134s. So with less than a minute left, everybody's starting their last lap each time they come across. This is Liam Quinn down in 9th. Another driver having problems keeping it on the course.
Yeah, Gerard about 0.2 faster than Billy Smith, who has about a 10th over Scott McGarvey.
David Sockrider, currently last of the drivers who put in times out of the 11 that we believe will start in the prototype class. The 12th driver, Kevin O'Keefe, certainly is not here from what we're seeing. So that looks like it bears out with his wheel. Sockrider across the line at 35.4. That is 4/10 faster, and that's up to 10th.
Dale Green down to the bottom of the order.
Billy Smith came across and wasn't able to improve yet again. This is Carter Kundinger towards the end of the lap. An ultimate turn, and then the final corner for the number 22. His fast is a 33.6. He's on the outside of the second row as the checkered flag comes out. Last attempt, not going to count for him as well. Mole's going to abandon his. Scott McGarvey, who sits in third. This is another one with a good opportunity. He's only 2/10 back from the pole. That's not too far, but it is far enough when you abandon the lap as another driver just not confident as they get towards the end. David Sockrider got himself up to 10th with that last one. One of the more consistent drivers, it seems, from his qualifying. He's had only one lap that did not count so far. If he could just turn that consistency into speed, he'd have something in that 44. Definitely taking it all the way out to the outer edge of the track. Trying to use as much as he can. Around the final corner, this is his last chance. He's not going to abandon it. Going to try and give us one more. Sockrider across the line at 36.0 is not going to be faster for him. Billy Smith, 33.3, and he's still 7/100ths off the pole.
But in the ballpark of Jason Girard, he'll be able to race with him.
I'm sure he would have liked to have been ahead of him, though, unfortunately. Carter Kundinger, did he get across the line before the checkered flag came out?
Yeah, but he's still in fourth, though. He wasn't able to move up to the 133.6.
Yeah, that's going to be it for him. So that's going to set our grid here today, actually, at Watkins Glen. It'll give us our starting order, so let's bring that to you now. It's going to be Jason Girard putting it on the pole once more. He won last week. Can he do it again? Billy Smith will be starting second next to him. Scott McGarvey, current champion, sitting in third on the grid with Carter Kundinger starting P4. John Ulmer, unusual qualifying for him, tends to be very fast, and he starts P5. Dean Mole will start in 6th. Mark Wilson has 7th, and then it's Robert Canchin in P8. Liam Quinn starts from the 9th spot. Top 10 is going to be rounded out by David Sockrider. Last on the grid for the HPDs is Dale Green in 11th. Bill?
Well, I got 21 drivers here to go through. Over under of me butchering is 1.5. We'll go with Alex Simonik on the pole. He's going to be inside of Stephen McGarvey. The next rows is Jason DeBreeze with Dennis Sabredick behind him. Joshua Hallen Wolf is going to be 5th. He's going to be inside of Andy Scheil. Ross Booth and William Laster make up the next row. Daniel Bralte and Mike Young. Watch out for Young. He has been good of late. Olivier Tricot and Lyndon Swaby are in the next row. Ryan Huff and Matt Quinn. Sheldon Rosenbaum is going to be inside of Dave Hill. Mark Schindel is going to be flanked by Armando Edwards. Dino Topage is here today. Mark Gugu Gajubinski, one of the best nicknames I've ever come up with, is way down there, almost at the end, right in front of Joey Turngale. I got all the names right, then I missed my commentator's name. Taylor.
Starting on the pole position is going to be Dawson Brock. Alongside him will be Trevor Vrabowski. Right behind them will be Paul Slavonic and Lionel Duprat as they start 35th and 36th position in the overall. Kevin Santana will be right beside him, followed by Alan Haysback. Tim McLeish will also be starting as he will start in the 40th position overall. My timing and scoring is starting to show up a little bit.
Left off with
Scott Corbin starts in 41st with Mike Major in 42nd. Shane Hunter will be 43rd, and then you've got Tyler Gilmet in 44th position. Mark Kudrowski will be P45, and then Marty Jeffries 46th. Jay Friels 47th, and then Matt Owens 48th. Sean Reese 49th. Art Peck starts P50. From there, you've got Sean Reese in 51st. Robert Sklenka and Art Peck rounding out the field. I'm not sure why Art Peck is showing in 50th there. I've got him 52nd on mine. So apologies for the last little bit of the timing and scoring maybe being a little screwy there with the grid. You can see they're already taking off for the pace lap here today. Let's go to our regular tradition of our picks. We'll start with Bill on the the prototypes and the GTE cars.
The bad luck cannot continue for Billy Smith II. He's due for a win here, even though Jason Gerard sits on the pole. Look for Smith to pick one up down there. All right, with Simonic going 3 for 3, the boring pick would be to take Simonic, so I'm not going to do that. I think Jason Deep Freeze DeVries is beginning to get a feel for this. He's in third. Watch for him. He's got to get around McGarvey to get up to Simonic, but might be time for Deep Freeze to pick up his first win of the season. Taylor?
Well, you got to go with Dawson Brock, of course, but I'm not going to go with Dawson because he's already got a couple wins, but I'm going to keep an eye on Scott Corbin and Kevin Santana. Those two are going to be the drivers to probably watch. They need to get a lot of races points under their belt before we get closer to the end of the season. So tonight is the night we start seeing them work their way up.
Look at those two grizzly guys down there, Dawson Brock and Trevor Vavrosky.
With some debate before the race about coming up to this portion right here through the inner loop, especially between the GTD and the GTLM cars. They tend to be close on pace, but from what the chatter was, it's unsure if they can get by the GTD cars in time.
We did not talk much about lap traffic here at the Glen. Fortunately, this is a familiar racetrack for everybody. They've raced on a lot of times, so you should be able to figure out how to get out of the way. But there are a lot of left-right combinations. There's the right-left combination in 8. There's a left-right combination for 10 and 11. The S's can be tricky, so you got to be careful if you're in any one of these classes, to be honest.
Absolutely. They've all got to be on their toes for sure. Coming around the toe of the boot there in the prototypes, while the GTD cars are just now heading through the chute. The more dangerous spots for any car as well. Just simply, you can see the lack of runoff all around that corner. Very much old school. This is going to be a 60-minute race, a sprint format for this one. And that means that pressure is on to try and make gaps where you can and try to get away, which could lead to more frustration. Certainly saw it at Road Atlanta, where drivers just tangled with each other at critical moments and unfortunately wound up with their race ended prematurely. Coming around that penultimate corner, following behind the iRacing pace car, they're going to give control to Jason Gerard. Last time he was in dominant form. What is it going to be this time? Can he repeat that feat? Has he finally gotten rid of all those gremlins? Pace car is in. Green flag is out. Jason Gerard off like a shot. Billy Smith immediately slots in behind him. Scott McGarvey trying to fend off Carter Kundinger around the outside. Carter deep on the brakes into the 90. They are side by side, but behind them John Omer comes out ahead of Dean Mole. Otherwise, it is a clean start. Let's go to the GTLMs.
Simonic with a big jump. Stephen McGarvey slots into second. DeVries holds on to third position. There is a battle back between Savretic and Joshua Wolf. They still working on that one. Let's go to Taylor.
Dawson Brock gets a great jump over the rest of the GTD field, though, but Vavrosky, along with the likes of Paul Slavonic, try to go nose to tail into turn 1 into the 90 right now. Kevin Santana slots into the 4th position, while Alan Hacebeck slots into 5th position in class, Joe.
Had one driver start from pit lane. That was Chris Costa. Otherwise, very good start from everyone, at least through the first corner. I'm trying to see if we had any incidents farther up towards the inner loop, and so far I'm not catching anything. Wow, this is a pretty tame start. Meanwhile, Liam Quinn seems to have a problem. That was side-by-side contact with Sock Rider in the toe.
I'll tell you right now, though, there was a battle between, we didn't get it on screen, but there was a battle between Dennis Savretic and Joshua Wolf for 4th place in the GTLMs that went on all the way into the inner loop. They finally got it solved. That racing, though, cost them any contact with the front 3 guys. Simonic, McGarvey, and DeVries have pulled away. Go, Joe.
Yeah, we had more problems back in the GTDs. It looks like Jubinski, Hill, Sheldon Rosenbaum involved in it. It was just a big issue back in the chute. Actually, no, is that GTLM, rather?
That was GTLM. That was Dave Hill.
Oh, it all started with Sheldon Rosenbaum getting loose in front of the entire field. He bounces it off the inside wall, comes back across.
Here we're going to see it. Collected about 4 cars. I didn't see who the fourth was.
Mark Schindel is the first one he gets into. Rosenbaum is in the blue colored car. He'll get loose. Then he gets Schindel right there.
Oh man. It looked like there was no time to react for any of those drivers as well. Going up to 3rd spot, Carter Kundinger being chased by Scott McGarvey. Scott looking to try to get himself back onto the podium. So those two are losing touch with Billy Smith in 2nd place, who is further losing grip of Jason Gerard, repeating exactly what he did at Road America.
Like Smith tries, he might. He was only about a 1/10 of a second slower than Gerard in qualifying, but little by little, Jason is beginning to open up that gap. Not the case, though, on Scott McGarvey. He's doing a good job hanging on the back of Kundinger.
Absolutely. I'm going to correct myself. That was Road Atlanta, not Road America. Jason Gerard sets the fastest lap of the race so far, up ahead of them. As they come out of the 90, you can see them all swinging wide using that paved runoff, but nobody getting that good of a run on one another currently. Let's go back into the GTLMs, 13th, 14th overall, thereabouts, because it is a mess. Mike Young, Ryan Huff, Lyndon Swaby, Olivier Turcotte, and Matt Quinn swapping positions in this train you see on screen.
Young leading the way. He's got quite a distance to get up to Ross Booth, who's racing up ahead of him, but it's Young, Huff, Swaby as they work their way through the 90.
This is all a battle for what is effectively 10th position. That's what Young holds for now.
The last car in line is Matt Quinn.
Bad news for Lionel Duprat fans. He had a problem during the pace lap, and he has decided to exit the race due to some technical issues. Through the inner loop, nobody making any moves, but we understand there's a battle down for 5th in the GTD class, Taylor.
Yes, it is. Tim McLeish was able to get by Alan Haysbeck for 5th in the class, but Scott Corbett, Mike Major, they are all over the back bumper of Haysbeck as they go down into the inner loop. Corbett doing a great job trying to hold his line, but Haysbeck gets a great run out of it to close that gap on Tim McLeish as they're now making the run down towards the chute into the boot. Let's see what drivers such as Mike Major is going to do. He's got a lot of pressure added on to the back bumper of Scott Corbett.
Riding on board with Haysbeck, looking up ahead. Might want to look behind, actually, because it looks like a pass on Corbin from Major is looming as Major decides to back out of it once they hit the toe of the boot. You can see the two of them giving chase. Climb the hill up towards the heel of the boot. And everybody mostly staying in line. This is one of the more tame starts to a Autobahn race that we've seen in quite a while.
Lap traffic still coming.
It's still early.
Making hay while the sun shines.
Oh, there he goes. He tried to stick his nose underneath, but decided to think twice of it right there. Gonna try to bide his time a little bit. It's still early on in the race. We're only a few minutes in, not even 15 minutes into the race. He's just biding his time. Mike Major doing a great job. We'll see him up towards the front before the day's done.
Riding on board with Major as he follows Corbin into the 90. This sometimes a place where passes happen, but not this time through. Now he starts to get the toe as they climb up through the S's. Corbin with a gap of about 0.2 of a second, but it's closing and getting smaller. Major getting ever closer, but he's running out of racetrack as they hit the inner loop. And he's going to have to stay in that 8th position. Certainly threatening, Taylor. He's been looking left and right here and there, but so far no serious attempts, it seems.
He's just testing the water right now, finding out where Scott Corbett is probably not the best at the moment on the track, and then finding out where to try to overcome that weakness to get by Scott Corbett. But Scott's doing a great job of keeping Mike right behind him through some of the more difficult parts of the track. So I say give it a time. Scott will either find a way to pull away, or we could see Mike Major find a way to get by.
And you might have noticed in the background there, the white car and green car battling against each other is Kudrowski and Hunter. Hunter having some connection problems on top of it. Kudrowski fends him off, but he's trying for an over-under. Unfortunately, the track switches back. Hunter is caught on the outside as Tyler Gilmet sticks his nose in, but can't get the launch.
Yeah, and they also got Jay Frails as well, the 91 Mercedes right behind them as well, watching as well. So there's a lot of good battles going on towards the back half of the GTD field.
Hunter's got to get that sorted out. That cannot be fun for Kudrowski ahead of him.
Hunter's looking to the inside as they go down into the 90, but goes back in line as they're coming out of it. He's just trying to find a way, but it's just so difficult.
Let's go to the lead of the GTLMs. Here we have a passport. A mistake by Simonic. Here comes. Is he going to make the move? McGarvey's going to wait. Sorry to interrupt. McGarvey has been stopping Simonic for many, many laps, and now he's going to be on it right now. He's got another run on him.
Fantastic.
Simonic taking his hat out of the middle. Go, Joe.
Oh, he just had an incredible run off of the heel of the boot. And actually what was interesting was Simonic was covering him off until pretty late, and then he ducked back to the racing line there. Still, he is under threat. McGarvey, who we ride on board with now, looking over his shoulder, watching Alex Simonic try to run away for the 4th time in a row. Certainly looks like he is not going to be able to run and hide, because number 27 has got his foot down.
Simonic opened up a bit of a lead to start the race, and McGarvey did a good job of running them down, and now he is in the tow. He can stay with him, and if he's not able to make a pass unless Simonic makes a mistake, and that's what he was waiting on, and when he made it, boy, he was ready to capitalize.
I think he's still ready to capitalize. He's backed off slightly, but man, 0.4 of a second is not much, especially when you're talking about the 250 of Alex Simonic. They come up the front, or the backstretch one more time. McGarvey pulls that into about 0.2 of a second by the time they hit the braking. Now, all of this has been happening before they've hit any traffic like we were talking about, but they do have one of the prototypes coming up from behind them. Dale Green seems to have had some issues and is trying to come back forward. So they're going to have a little bit of a rude interruption in a lap or two's time.
Maybe we can check in on Jason Gerard, because now he has found traffic. He's working on the back of Matt Owens, and he's got quite a few cars. And he doesn't have a lot of room to play with. It's only about a second back to Billy Smith. And he's going to have to wait.
Yeah, certainly last race it was much bigger of a gap between himself and second place. Look at him have to wait patiently through the inner loop. Now using the downforce around the outside of the carousel, weaving between the cars. Gets to the inside of Shane Hunter. This was the battle we were watching earlier. Oh, and Mark Kudrowski weaves a little bit too wide. He slams it into the tires.
Does a good job. Matt Owens also followed him out there. A little bit of a... Oh, Owens got hit. Owens got pushed out by John Ulmer.
Ulmer riding 4th currently. Who is that in the background we saw? That was...
Jeffries got tangled up going around. He got tangled up with Owens going around with Dean Mole in the prototype.
And that actually didn't initially involve the prototype. It was Owens and Chris Costa. Costa actually is a GTLM car. The one I said started from pit lane. Let's see from Costa's perspective. Poor Costa just picked the wrong way to go as everything erupted right in front of him. So I heard some chatter from Mike Major. I'm not sure if it was traffic. Oh, yeah, it looked like it was into the last corner. We don't need the replay, but John Ulmer and Scott McGarvey were trying to get through, and it was just a case of both cars moved to one side at the same time. Well, Ulmer has gotten by McGarvey. McGarvey's not giving this one up. He's staying within about 0.3 of a second. Looking back from John Ulmer's classic green and black car. They take more traffic, almost unending it seems right now as this first pass. Kevin Santana. Up next is Paul Slavonic. Slavonic certainly was one robbed of a podium last time. Just working his way to a second place finish, although he led many of the laps. He was out-strategized by Brock. Even still, it was a real shame to see him find the wall after getting a rude shove from one of the other classes.
Just up from that battle that we're looking at, Billy Smith has lost touch now with Gerard, thanks to traffic. That could change. But how about a shout out to the driver in third? Carter Kundinger now is on the back of Smith. But so much of this has to do about if you catch traffic and how you catch traffic. These passes are going to happen like a lightning bolt. It's just going to be a matter of somebody getting hung up behind somebody and somebody capitalizing on it.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, Taylor, that we haven't seen much more in the way of the draft offering the ability to try and pass. In the past, that's kind of been one of the MOs here at Watkins Glen, but I'm not seeing that today.
It is, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of passing opportunities. A lot of drivers might be, though, just taking their time since it is still early and due to the fact of the danger of this track of negotiating through lap traffic as well as, other issues of this track. So, as we have a car off through the inner loop as that battle was Scott Corbin, Hayspec was able to get the car back out on track, though, but did lose it going through the inner loop. He now has to deal with Mike Major. But back to that point, drivers are just having to be biding their time by the looks of it for the most part, as they have seen no major power.
Yeah, that was Hayspec losing positions. Here we're going to watch the move. That's Corbin in the red and white. Corbin, another one that had a bad time last race. Himself, Vrosky, and McLeish ran into one another within the very early laps. He avoids the mess this time, swings around the outside, and that moves Corbin up to 6th in class. Come back live. The leader in that class is still Dawson Brock, and he is handling things beautifully with Trevor Vrosky behind him in second place, running a smooth race.
Yeah, Dawson has about a 2.1 second gap over Trevor and just absolutely dominating this race for right now. Still early, a lot can happen, 45 minutes left to go, but
something happened to Billy Smith. Sorry to interrupt. Billy Smith in the inner loop was off track, and it was traffic once again. This time with Mark Schindel.
I can't really blame Schindel. He has a corner to his left. This is Billy Smith forcing a 3-wide situation.
It really was. Well, and Smith also was trying to chase the leader. He was trying to make those aggressive moves to keep up with him. This to me seems more like racing incident.
Yeah.
Well, that cost him a lot. He's down in 6th now. He's just ahead of Cancian and Wilson, you see there behind him on screen.
And that's as much of him trying to catch the leaders as it is this battle here between Kundinger and Ulmer. Kundinger was right on the back of Smith with traffic. Now these guys battled for second. And McGarvey is in the mix as well.
And a big slide from Ulmer on the way into the final corner. That might be due to the track temperature, which has once again gone way up. It is 109 degrees out there. So we could see some drivers slipping and sliding around.
Oh, a good run. Good run from McGarvey. Does he have anything on Ulmer? He's right there.
I think he does. I think we're going to see an attempt. There's Ulmer taking the middle of the track, covering him off, and McGarvey thinks better of it. He backs off by the time they hit the inner loop.
Still early on, only a quarter way through the race.
A lot of opportunities will probably still present themselves. we go to Josh Wolf. Well, what happened to Ulmer here? I suddenly look over.
Oh, they got into the back of Dino Topic, and then going over is Kundinger, and Ulmer got a lot of it too. He lost his nose.
Wow.
Lapped traffic.
Yeah, I think that was Topic just starting to lose the car that suddenly kicked that off. And everything happened so fast, both Kundinger and Ulmer nowhere to go. And I tell you what, McGarvey, of all three of them, seems to have come out the best because he now finds himself in second place again.
Joe, you absolutely nailed that. When Dino got the car a little bit loose and the effort it took to save it, by the time he saved his Ford, Kundinger was up behind him, and then Ulmer got into it as well. There was not enough time to react. And McGarvey says, thank you very much.
Even in the land most known for its pizza, New York, you can't avoid the cheese sometimes falling off, it seems. So already 20 minutes in, and John Ulmer's hit the pits early.
I gotta say, that was quite a violent wreck in that with those two prototypes. Imagine it with those new damage updates we'll be seeing later on, with how the cars will be. It's going to be quite fascinating to watch, but unfortunate for those two drivers first.
The battle we've been trying to get to is 16th overall. Can we go to William Laster? This is what our director wanted to get to before that incident. Now, this is Laster and Wolf going through. That's your prototype leader, Jason Girard. These guys have been going at it for what would be 19 minutes since it started. I'm talking about William Laster and Joshua Howland Wolf.
And I tell you what, Wolf is another one that's had a little bit of bad luck so far this season. Just been in the wrong place at the wrong time often. Right now, he rides in 7th place in this class. Last race, the driver we don't see here today was Haley, and it was Wolf who got into it with him. Wide coming out of the 90 for Josh Wolf. That's going to cost him a little bit of pace and keep William Laster safe for now. So let's go back to the GTD cars once more. The battle for P8 getting close.
It is. We got a 3-car battle. It's between Shane Hunter, Mike Major, and Alan Hayspec. Alan actually was the car running in the P8 position, but has actually got passed by both Shane Hunter and Mike Major. So these three are now trying to battle it out as they come out of the boot down for the final 2 corners. Seeing it right now, we see Shane Hunter trying to pull away a gap right now, but Mike Major just slowly closing it back in, doing the same exact thing like he did with Corbin, just finding those weaknesses that he can as they make the run down the front straightaway towards the 90. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a pass going into the inside or outside here going in 90 to the 90, Joe, but he's going to try. He goes a little bit later in the break compared to Shane, but no attempt right at the moment.
And let's stay with this, but I want to say that Billy Smith has gotten back up on the podium already, partly due to the craziness, partly by pace.
Got around Dean Mole, and then he picked up the 2 spots from attrition when Ulmer and Kundinger got together, so now he's back on the podium.
Still no attempt from Mike Major. He's going to hang back behind Hunter.
And he got right on the back bumper before they got to the inner loop right there, so he must have caught a little bit of a slipstream coming down that back straightaway as they're making the run down towards the chute into the boot. He's not close
and you
enough.
can see the blue car behind them is Alan Hayspec, who's starting to get a little bit closer due to this back and forth we're seeing.
He is. That's what sometimes happens a lot when 2 cars are battling. That car in that 3rd spot pretty much will close that gap for the most part. So you don't want to be battling with your competitors too much. You want to try to get by them as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you could end up losing a spot. Instead of having to go on the offensive, you'll have to be more defensive now.
So let's go over to Booth and Huff, who looked like they were getting really close up towards the inner loop, but Huff decided to back out of it at the last moment.
The man back there with butter on his racing gloves in the popcorn position is Mike Young watching this whole thing happen.
They've got traffic coming up on them. This is Mark Wilson, you see, riding behind in the black and white HPD. He's going to at least get one of them with Mike Young. He's being chased by Robert Canchin.
Wilson has a nice run.
199.
This is for top 5 in prototypes, so a nice run from him. They work their way through, but they're not done yet because here comes Mike Young. I'm sorry, Robert Canchin.
Canchin, yeah. A lot of cars in there. And Canchin's not getting the best of it. Oh, and back behind them, Young almost gets hit by Liam Quinn. They both get through it. Quinn's still not completely by. Now he manages to overtake Young.
They really have a conversion of two races for 5th place. It's the race in the prototypes.
And they're in the back.
Wilson and Canchin. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, in the background, Ryan Huff going defensive on Mike Young, who gets the run. He takes the long way around, outbreaking his opponent into the 90s. So it moves Mike Young up to the top 10.
He'll try to run down Ross Booth. That's a battle.
Still in position. Right on board, Booth looking back. What you can't see behind the red and white car is that Ryan Huff is regaining that ground from after being passed. They hit the inner loop. Huff has to stay behind, but he is less than a car length back from that Porsche. Next up behind them is Sock Rider. Sock Rider is going to wait behind in the chute here. This is where that track moves back and forth. Like you said, the line across the track, Bill. Oh, no! Sock Rider hits the grass. He spins into the car of Ryan Huff. Both of them take severe damage. Huff more so.
Olivier Tacat was first to the scene. Great job from him weaving his way through. He gets through cleanly.
Oh, wow. And hits the Armco incredibly hard. The beauty of the 4GT starts to look more like a Picasso with one eye cocked up in the air. Almost looked like Sock Rider maybe got squeezed out a little bit too by the Porsche ahead. Hard to tell. Regardless, the results is that both of them are running with damage. Well, one's running with damage, the other is pitting with damage as Huff has already come to a stall.
But you look at them, as you watch them racing, it's kind of the nature of the beast of Watkins Glen. That's why some of the most horrific accidents I've ever seen in real-world racing have been here, because of the tight confines, the speed, and unlike a regular road course where you spin off into the grass and you just bounce right back onto the track, and everything seems to exaggerate.
Well, let's see if this battle gets exaggerated, because Daniel Gralty comes up on Josh Wolf, who's 4 wheels off in the grass in the chute and somehow comes away from it. That was a phenomenal save. Looking back, it tempts Gralty even more. He closes in to about a car length and a half. Getting close to the halfway point. Could we see one of them maybe try to take a pit to leapfrog the other?
Remember, we were watching the battle between Wolf and Laster when we were last here. Laster has driven away. I'm not actually sure Laster has driven away. It's not like Wolf slowing down into the clutches of Gralty now.
Getting ready to lap Paul Slavonic down there in the GTDs. Paul having just released a new book, we understand. Ooh, this is a great run onto the main stretch. Gralty could try something. Wolf is going to go defensive and try and lap the car of Slavonic at the same time. And Gralty's not quite brave enough to send it in deep.
The final chapter in the book is how to leave the inside light open through the 90 and let the faster cars through. Nice job. That is not the case, by the way, fans.
There's Sock Rider managing to continue on through. Ooh, but he held up Wolf just a little bit there. gives Kralty some of that time back. He's right on board with Danny. Yeah, I still think, Bill, now is the time for someone like the number 47 in Kralty to duck on into the pits, see if he can just use a little alternate strategy to try and sneak by.
Yep. That's the case for a lot of drivers going on. I think driver 6 overall in the prototypes, Robert Cantion, might want to do that as well. He's been on the back of Mark Wilson for the longest time trying to get around him. Traffic has separated them now. We don't need to go there, but I'll just follow up. Remember we were talking about Alex Simonek and Stephen McGarvey. They're the leaders of the GTLMs. Well, try as he might, McGarvey had to give up the chase on Simonek. Simonek all the way down, up by quite a bit.
Behind them, though, De Vries and Savretic are fighting very, very closely. In fact, Savretic might have something on him. Down the inside, into the 90. Does he get it woed up? Does he get it off the corner? That's where it's going to be critical. And I'd say that the speed is going back to De Vries. Not only that, but the slipstream as well. He's right on board with the Bimmer. Could he get him back and get back onto the podium? Around the outside, pulls out of the draft. Savretic back to the racing line himself. They're going to stay in order.
It's all been paced by Savretic, running him down. There was no real big mistakes by De Vries.
I think we've got a scheduled stop happening. Oh, no, we do not. I thought Dino Topic was in for a little bit of scheduled work, but doesn't seem to be the case. He has gotten out of his car. We'll have to get back to him later and see if we can figure out what caused his DNF. So, exactly halfway, coming in roughly 50 seconds. Watching De Vries continue to give chase on Savretic, who is now dealing with the traffic of Sklenka.
You know, Ulmer and Kundinger would probably argue this point I'm about to make, but compared to what we saw last round, this has been a pretty clean race.
I would agree on that one, honestly. Last one was a lot more frantic, it felt like. So we've gone back up to the prototypes where Wilson and Cantion are weaving through traffic while trying to weave amongst each other. And Wilson, way deep in there, he manages to make the corner. I think he's scared the willies out of Alan Hasebeck. He was about 3 car lengths back, and then suddenly there's a car.
What's funny is Hasebeck was able still to get down in there and get the apex. That was...
Trying to watch it from Hasebeck's perspective just so that we can try and see. Oh, I guess we've already managed to catch it here.
What was interesting is, I'm not sure if Hasebeck ever saw him. I think he took this regular racing line. He turned it, hit the apex. He didn't lose a tenth of a second on that one.
Oh, and Billy Smith just lost a position. Dean Mole got by him. What caused that? Is Smith out of fuel or something? He very suddenly slowed.
You know what? Also, as we look at this replay, we might have time to see. As we look at this one, Joshua Wolf just spun the car and then got T-boned. I think it's close enough we might be able to get this one. Olivier Tacot came in and right into Joshua Wolf, who was perpendicular on the track, got T-boned, got turned over. Both those cars are going to suffer major damage.
Yeah, Wolf's 40th overall now is where he's being scored, just because he's fallen all the way down the order.
Let's see if we can pull this up.
Yeah. Gets missed. He gets missed.
It's coming. And there's Tacot. Ouch!
He waited a long time, and he actually got put on his lid by that.
Yeah, we're going to look at it one more time. The poor guy, he did exactly what he's supposed to do. The car got stuck. He's in the racing line. So I guess he's supposed to stay here, but this is scary. So he waits. He waits. Hopefully everybody sees I'm just going to wait here. And Olivier, ouch.
Yeah, he would have had a gap if Olivier had managed to get by. That would have been his chance, but it was not to be, and Josh Wolf just can't find his place in this series yet.
Yep.
Scott McGarvey, who still continues on in second, and the prototypes.
Oh,
did we lose Wilson and Cancian?
So many things.
Boy. Well, this happened right by our leader. That was Gerard just going by. If we go to the replay, it was in the S's, so about 50 seconds back. Edwards let him through, and then I guess he got loose. He's missing his nose here on this screen. I didn't see that from my perspective. To see Gerard get around, and it happens right behind him. That's Armando Edwards in the black and white Porsche. Yeah, he just got loose. Oh, looks like we cut away right at the wrong time there.
That was with Jabinski, right? So they get together.
So, in the meantime, Bill, have you caught what happened to Wilson and Cancian? Because I'm suddenly seeing both of them out of this race as well.
They were next to each other.
Well,
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, while Bill looks for that, this changes things drastically in our prototypes. Because Jason Gerard still leads, McGarvey's still second, but now Dean Mole, of all people, is in third place. Sock Riders all the way up to fourth. Liam Quinn has got a top 5, and Dale Green finds himself in 6.
I found it. In the 90, Duprat got loose in front of Wilson. Wilson got into him, and then Cancian had nowhere to go. He got into Duprat. Both of those guys are out.
I think while we were looking at that, something happened to Billy Smith as well. He's been in the pits for 3 minutes. Oh, you know what? Smith has been in the pit since we saw him enter that one time. I think Smith is having technical issues.
Well, drivers, we can cover all your incidents if you were kind enough to stagger them, but when you put them all at the exact same time, it makes it difficult.
We've jumped to third in the GTDs. We haven't looked at Santana in a while, though he's been the man to beat at times in the AM category. He's certainly met his match in some of these races. They've beat him by smaller margins than today, though. Looks like Taylor, I'm seeing 11 seconds up to Vavrovsky. He is just getting thwomped, it looks like.
Yeah, and he does have to worry about the likes of Tim McLeish, though, who's not too far up the road behind him right now. He separated by one of the GTL M cars. Mark Schendel is right between these two. So he's got to worry about maybe even losing the third position. But yeah, Vavrovsky and Brock, they're in their own zip code for the most part. But these two, though, are not that far apart. They're on the front straightaway together right now, getting ready to go into turn 1.
We saw on screen that was our leader, Jason Gerard, finishing his pit stop. And Scott McGarvey, who's been running in second, comes out. But he looks like it's shaken out to about 8.5 seconds behind. He had a slower stop.
Our third place driver is now Dean Mole. Congratulations for him. David Sockrider racing in 4th. And Liam Quinn, Mr. Excitement, a lap down in 5th. Everyone's made their stops.
And for Mole, this is sort of a case of your Racing Point / Force India managing to get a podium every once in a while. The number 79 doesn't see these often. I'm sure he's going to want to tiptoe through here because he's got 51 seconds ahead of Sock Rider. He does not need to push this car to keep this third place.
Next season, that number 3 will be just as 3-like, and you'll forget why you got it.
All right, we've got Dawson Brock leading Trevor Vovrosky, but Trevor is keeping within about 0.8 of a second of our leader. Could be hard to see a hat trick for Brock if Vovrosky continues to apply the pressure this way.
He is trying his best. I mean, a lot of this is probably due to the fact that we are having to deal with the lap traffic, as the prototypes and GTLM cars are trying to get around these two drivers. With them, it's a little bit more difficult because the leader is trying to make sure he gives enough room, but yet keeps enough of a gap to try to pull away from Vovrosky. So Brock is being a little bit more cautious, while Vovrosky can just follow straight through as best he can with a prototype or a GTLM car.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Trevor was one of that group of oval drivers, was he not, that's come in through Grizzly?
Yeah, both of those guys, Brock and Vovrosky, are teammates, the Grizzly guys.
Well, for both oval drivers, they are showing exceptional road racing skill.
The other McGarvey now pitting. Stephen McGarvey coming in from second in the GTLM class. That hands it over to Jason DeVries temporarily. Simonic is still our leader, the winner of the first 3 rounds, leading the 4th one as well.
I think Stephen would argue that Scott is the other McGarvey. I guess it all depends on. Stephen right now in 3rd, Scott in 2nd. There is nothing going on, by the way, in the GTLMs. It's all spaced out. It's hard pressed to find a battle there.
Yeah, the closest I'm seeing is well down the order in 11th between Hill and Swaby. So everybody's pretty much found their own little bit of racetrack and are doing their thing. 20 minutes left on the clock. There's still a fair bit of racing left to go with about a third of the race remaining. But as we've seen, a lot can happen in 20 minutes in Autobahn. Taking a look at Hill, giving him some screen time in his Ford. Being chased by Swaby, the number 100 machine. And the brand new Bimmer M8. Sounds like we've had Vovrosky pit. Through the inner loop, they swing as we turn the cameras over to Vovrosky.
That'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because he was right behind Brock.
Deep Freeze comes in for his stop. He's followed by Andy Scheil. This has been a slightly more anonymous race for Andy Scheil compared to the last one. I'm sure he appreciates that, though, especially since he's running for a top 10 at this point. All of them come in and hit their stalls. Still waiting on a few of these GTLM cars to pit. Simonic, Laster, Booth yet to come in. Dave Hill still needs his stop. Deep Freeze finishes his pit stop. He returns in, it looks like 6th place, but he is waiting on a couple cars that should hand him positions back when they take their pit stop. Dave Hill now comes in. It's mostly the GTD cars and a few rogue GTLMs.
I can tell you right now, Dawson Brock is not responding to this of what we saw from Vovrosky, as he's not going to come down pit road. So we'll have to see what Mike Major does, along with Scott Corbin. These are the last few, I believe. About 4 or 5 more cars have not pitted in the GTD class. So we'll have to see what they do.
And last time, Brock, I think I mentioned it already this broadcast, he used strategy to try and jump the leader. Last time it was Slavonic who he got around. And the 83 could be doing it again. Maybe he missed a trick. We'll find out soon enough. He can't stay out too much longer.
He's really got the track to himself, though. I mean, Broski's had to deal with some issues, but Brock's had it all to himself.
Certainly does.
Now.
Our leaders in the GTLM have now pitted. Simonic has come in. Ross Booth joins him. Laster just finished his stall. In fact, Simonic's already back out. So that gives second place back to Stephen McGarvey. And Savretic, is he into third? Yes, he is. Just ahead of Laster. Did Laster jump De Vries, though? Was De Vries in fourth before?
Looking at... Yeah, I think De Vries has lost a spot, if my notes are correct.
So he's got to make up about 2.2 seconds, which is roughly equal to what his pit stop time was, longer than William Laster's 3:07 ahead of him.
Here comes Never Say Die, Dawson Brock.
Yep, he's coming down pit road, and he's got a large gap between him and his competitor, Trevor Pavlovsky. I mean, it's going to be a matter of time to see how quickly this pit stop will be, waiting to see what he does. Also seeing if Mike Major and Scott Corbin will be coming down pit road. So here comes Mike. He's now entering the final corner. Let's see what he does. And he's going to stay out an extra lap by the looks of it. Scott Corbin, he's going to come in, as Brock is now coming off pit road.
Bobrovsky out of the final corner.
Coming down the front stretch, he's ahead of Josh Wolf. And Wolf trying to find a way around after he's gotten this car repaired.
This is going to be really close. Here comes Bobrovsky. Brock gets out. Will he get it wound up in time? I guess he does.
I think he does, yeah. I was going to say, not quite as close as Bobrovsky hoped.
Yeah, and it's a little bit more of a gap compared to the pit stop that happened beforehand. So Dawson Brock made a great strategy call. I mean, timed it perfectly to even pull a gap over Trevor Pavlovsky. So great effort. Let's see what Mike is able to do. As we should know, he should be coming down pit road probably this time by.
And that, I believe, is all of our pit stops done, save Major and Art Peck.
I do got to give a little bit of credit to Paul Slavonic. He was one of the first GTD cars that came to pit. He pitted some, I would probably say around 10, 15, 20 minutes ago, and has worked his way up through the field after being almost the second to last car in the GTD class. So great effort for him to climb up.
There's Slavonic, currently running 6th in his class. Trying to make up for last round's disappointment for sure. Down to under 15 minutes to go. Is Major gonna pit?
Yes, he is. He's coming down pit road right now. This should give the lead right back to Dawson Brock. Here comes Dawson. He's coming off the final corner as well. Back to the lead, Dawson Brock will go. And Pavlovsky is still quite a ways away between the two drivers, so it's back to these top two as well, and see what happens with Kevin Santana, Tim McLeish, and Scott Corbin, how they will turn out.
I think Santana should be able to get by Major. Oh, I take that back. Actually, Major's all the way at the end of the pit lane. Watching from Brock's perspective, that is not Pavlovsky that you see behind him. That is Wolf. He's in a different class, GTLMs. And looks like Santana was able to get by Major. Major returns in 5th place, just behind McLeish. There you see McLeish in the white Mercedes just ahead of him.
Yeah, he's going to try to give it his best he can right now as they're making up through the climbing S's towards the back straightaway. Let's see what Mike Major can do before they get to the inner loop. He's not close enough for anything, but knowing how quickly he's been driving tonight, we should see him slowly but surely get to the back bumper.
Remember, Major is your point leader, so look at it. Score what he can.
Sometimes that's what you've got to do. Just keep it consistent. Pit stops are done. let's give you an update on what's happened so far in the race and where things sit in the final approaching 10 minutes. Jason Girard is your overall leader. It's not quite like the last race, but he's still doing a phenomenal job up front, just not letting anything faze him. Behind him, it is swapped around a ton, but currently it is Scott McGarvey. Although he's held it for a while, now things have settled down in the last 15 minutes or so. Behind him, it is none other than Dean Mole. Dean actually started in P6, so it wasn't really too bad of a qualifying, probably pretty good as I would rate it in terms of Dean Mole's typical pace. Podium is going to look even better on his scorecard if he can keep this up. Fourth place belongs to David Sockrider, a top 5. Not often the number 44 can claim these as well, especially in the prototype class this season, which has been chock full of talent. Liam Quinn rounds out the top 5 behind him, and I think this might actually be the first top 5 that Quinn will find in the Autobahn series this season. I'll double check that stat once we come back. Bill?
Okay, we go to the GTLMs. It's all Alex Simonic. His competition has fallen away. He's got about 11-second lead over the other McGarvey. Steven? Now, this is where it gets interesting. We get down into third position. Dennis Sabretic. He is in third, but coming fast is William Laster. Laster was able to jump Jason DeVries in the pit stop, and now he's beginning to close in fourth, and I expect him to be on the back of Sabretic here. Oh, but he only has 11 minutes. He's got to hustle. And then finally we have DeVries in fifth. Taylor?
Dawson Brock doing a great job. Started on pole position, has held on to the lead except during that round of pit stop, but has never looked back. Had a little bit of pressure though from his teammate Trevor Varvosky, as he's currently sitting in the second position, that number 10 Mercedes AMG. Doing a great job of keeping up with Dawson, but still not able to quite close the deal right yet. Back in the third position right now, that would be Kevin Santana, having a great recovery run here after some not so good finishes early on this season, but doing a great job holding on to third position. Another driver, someone who I thought didn't expect to be up in the top 5 tonight, Tim McLeish, doing a great job in that 95 Mercedes, clawed his way up starting from 42nd position overall, but now 25th overall in this race. Great effort for Tim. And then, of course, rounding out your top 5 is Mike Major. He is doing a great job. He is currently sitting 5th in class, 26 overall, and doing a great job working his way up through the field as he started 44th overall. So a great effort from Mike Major climbing his way up through the field tonight.
We go to a battle between Quinn and Swaby. We're going to watch that on screen. We've since had Mark Jabinski join us. He's since gotten out of the car, which has ended its day prematurely with an incident in the S's. Mark, we'd like to hear a perspective on what exactly happened. It looked like something of a bizarre incident.
I think he just lost the rear end. He sent me a whisper after the fact. He said he got out on the high side there and lost the rear end and just cut across the front.
So it's been something of a unique race because we tend to see frantic races here in Autobahn, but compared to something like Road Atlanta last week, it didn't quite seem as frantic, but it certainly, I guess I would call it, it looked frustrating out there.
That'd be the best word I could give it. I was talking to some guys after the fact, and I'm just like, man, this is, I hate to say this, and I know it's a broadcast, but this is not the series that I'm used to racing. That's for sure.
Well, everyone's allowed to express their frustrations, and sometimes criticism is needed to improve things, but we can understand if things came out not as you wanted, that you could feel that way. Now, these final 10 minutes left to go that we've got on the clock, we're seeing Alex Simonic up at the front yet again for the 4th race in a row. Do you think there's anything that anybody in your class can do to try to run him down?
I'm not 100% sure. I've been stuck with work a lot this year. This is the first time I was able to get into the league race, but he looks real quick. And I was watching the race, like I said, watching with you guys afterwards. I don't know. I wish I could say I had something for him, but I'm surely not going to be that guy, I don't think.
Well, at least you're modest, so... commiserations, Mark. It certainly wasn't the way that we wanted to be talking to you, but hopefully we'll see a little bit of a better finish for you when you come back at Mosport.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully I'll be able to get back around more often. And as always, thank you guys for doing what you do. It's great to be able to stop in and say hello at least. So
That was Mark Jabinski, who wrecked out
It has
from
been
the
a-
GTLM
It's
platform.
been a rough homecoming for Mark. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. All right. We're watching Scott Corbin now down in the GTDs. Shane Hunter has been living up to his name, has been holding on to the back of him, but unfortunately, the Hunter has had to sit and wait up in his tree for a long time for something to show itself. And so far, it hasn't from Scott Corbin. He's just been running a smooth race. And instead, maybe he's looking a little bit more in his mirrors because Alan Hayspec in his Mercedes has been stalking.
He has been indeed, Joe. Alan Hayspec been running some very consistent lap times, almost mirroring Shane Hunter right now, just a few tenths off that time by. Scott Corbin, though, a little bit slower.
Can we go to our leader, get a replay on this? This is show you that you're never safe. Right in front of Jason Girard for no apparent reason. Right now. So when I started talking,
It was about 40 seconds ago, yeah. There's Mark Schindel had the incident, if we want to seize the specific car. Yeah, it was up through the S's. Schindel's that green Porsche you see just ahead of him.
And this is just to point out here, we have 7 minutes of racing to go. He's leading. There's nothing going on. No worries. Is this here? Yep, and they have this.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing to note. We saw Schindel's incident, but there was an HPD going through the inside. I think that was Liam Quinn. He didn't touch him. It was either Quinn or Green.
We got a major issue on the front straightaway. I saw several cars. Scott Corbin involved, and then a prototype. I'm trying to get the number of that prototype that just had an issue as well, but I could not get it. But Scott Corbin made hard contact on the front straightaway.
They're coming back live now. Corbin's was all by himself. He just touched the grass and spun to the inside.
Might be hard to catch because he blinks away from me, so hopefully our director will have a better connection on this car.
That'll happen on the front stretch. Now, as we watch this, Bill, what I noticed was that twice we've had a Porsche be passed almost in the exact same way through the S's. The Porsche got loose in the same way. One time there was another car in the way. That was Jabinski, who we just talked to. This time, it was just a lone incident.
Yeah.
I think
Corbin, everybody getting around.
Anybody watching who drives the Porsche needs to be taking notes right now, because it seems like that car just did not handle that specific racing line for whatever bizarre reason.
And that's the point is you are never safe, because even though Girard has a 13-second lead over McGarvey, the danger lurks everywhere. And right now, he's got some serious work to do. That's Trungale in front of him, Owens. Liam Quinn is through already.
Danger isn't lurking for him right now. It's knocking on his front door. He's got a lot of stuff around him. Matt Owens, who he manages to get through. Finally, he's got a little bit of clear air as he continues to chase Liam Quinn. Quinn was the car that I saw that snuck to the inside during that incident. Oh, but Quinn is coming in. What is going on here?
He's in fifth. He's got about 40 seconds on Dale Green.
He's already had a pit stop. And yeah, I don't think Green should catch him unless it's something that takes a long time. If it's just a splash and dash, Liam's okay.
Well, if it's a splash and dash, he's there. He's rolling. It is a splash and dash. He just miscalculated. No worries, no harm done, Liam.
Indeed. Green's only coming around the final corner now. So he can thank his lucky stars that the attrition was so high, there was really nobody close to try and fight him for it. Let's jump down to Friels. This is a battle for 9th place. Oh, and is that Gilmet to his inside right now?
Yes, it is. He's going to make a pass. Gilmet is going to try to put the pressure down, get the pass completed, but Frills is going to try to stick his nose. A little contact right there, a little bit of bumper, as I got Carter Kundinger in his HPD tore up right behind him, trying to get by them both, but being a little bit patient. trails, though. I did not expect that. He now takes a look to the inside, tries to show his nose, but thinks twice of it before they come out of the boot here at Watkins Glen.
Wow. Even though they're fighting just to get into the top 10 of the GTDs, this is fierce fighting, especially with all of 3 minutes left on the clock. Don't throw it away quite yet, boys. You've still got a little more racing to go, even if it's 2 laps.
Boy, how about that Dawson Brock? He came out, he had Bobrovsky right behind him. He's just driving away.
Yeah, it's like 3 seconds right
Yeah.
now? My goodness. The 83 is looking at a hat trick of wins as long as he brings it home.
Well, I can tell you right now, he is doing the best he can of bringing it home in one piece, just running those nice smooth lines, not pushing it too hard, but just making sure he hits his marks each corner, each lap, as we're closing down in the final couple of minutes.
Looking at our leader in the GTLMs, who just completed another lap. Coming around up through the S's. Simonic also leading by a handy gap. This one nearly 14 seconds between himself and McGarvey. Believe we might be getting the white flag this time by for Jason Girard. He's just coming off the boot.
The way that the points play out in this one, as we're on the white flag laps now, is there's not that big a difference between winning and second. So if McGarvey and those guys who continue to just chunk away with those second places keeps them in the hunt.
That's how McGarvey did it last season. And indeed, it is the white flag for the 0-2. He had a miserable first 2 rounds. He took a win in the second round. And Jason Girard, who we have to point out is effectively running a home race here today, hails from the Club of New York here on iRacing. He's got less than a lap to go. Simonic getting ready to take the white flag himself. Will be the next one to finish. Dawson Brock, who I don't believe will be lapped in time by Girard, will be the last one across the line. That's really the closest fight of all the 3 classes, is down in those GTDs.
There's Simona coming across. Quite a testimony to be able to be so successful when there's so much chaos lurking around you. You got to be fast and a little bit psychic.
Some of the drivers did talk about the tricks to overtaking lap traffic in the HPDs. They said if you have to think about it, you're already too late. It's almost doing it by instinct. I certainly think Jason Girard has refound that animal instinct as the 0-2 comes back onto the main circuit. 2 more corners to go. It was a 60-minute sprint race. It was almost a survival race instead today. But Jason Girard, he was the fastest as he comes out of the final corner to cross the start-finish line. The win goes to homeboy Jason Girard.
Alex Simonic just down into the toe. Negotiate this 90-degree right-hander. Then he's got a right, left, and left, and a right, and he's home free. Looking to pick up his 4th win.
What
a little bit of a... Yeah.
Yeah. What a response to critics, though. Last season, with his up and down finishes that he had, Bill, and the way he lost out on a championship despite winning the most races. I mean, there's no better way than to come back and just win race after race after race like this.
He negotiates these final 2 corners to be 4 in a row. Long season, though. Don't count those chickens.
Nobody can, as we've seen. So, Alex Simonic in the number 250 comes off the last corner of the lap. Victory at Watkins Glen goes to Alex Simonic.
Dawson Brock doing coming through the final couple of corners right now as he comes out of the boot. He looks like he's going to be completing the hat trick here. He won at Sebring, he won at Road Atlanta, and now he's going to possibly take home the checkered flag here at Watkins Glen International. A great effort for the oval driver, showing these sports car drivers he can wheel a sports car. He is going to take the checkered flag.
No, he's slowing. He's slowing.
He's losing gas. Oh my
He's
goodness.
out of fuel. This is going to be close.
Oh, he
And
got it.
Bobrovsky.
I think Bobrovsky was also running out of fuel.
I'm not sure if he did or if he just slowed. It looked like Bobrovsky. I think Bobrovsky slowed.
I think it might have been a team photo.
All right, so Dawson
So,
is one of our commentators, so I think he knew what he was
better
doing.
than that. That's right.
He does know better, and that's why he did it, I think. Anyways, let's go to break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. If you stick around on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. It was the fourth round of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and this season, up at the front, Jason Girard is finding his feet. Once again, that is something to be nervous about for the rest of the prototype field. He takes his second win out of 4 races. And Scott McGarvey, though, Bill mentioned it, his tool so far has been to just be consistent. He gets another podium and another second place. Dean Mole rounds out the podium. That's something to celebrate for the 79 team. I hope they do tonight, because they manages to get 4th, and then Liam Quinn finishes 5th. Actually, a lap down, we should point out, from the leader. So did Dale Green, also a lap down, rounding out the HPD drivers who managed to see the checkered flag. Bill?
I have 14 drivers that finished ahead of the GTDs. And the best of them all was Alex Simonic, as he picks up his 4th win in a row. Stephen McGarvey, like his brother, picks up 2nd position. Dennis Savretic and William Laster. Laster tried as he might to get to Savretic. He would have got there, just ran out of clock. Jason DeVries is 5th. Andy Scheil in 6th. He's ahead of Mike Young and Daniel Gralty. Interesting to see Gralty so far down and really not a presence. Ross Booth, Olivier Turcotte in the 16th position, ahead of Liam Quinn, Lyndon Swaby, Dave Hill, and the final driver before we get to our leader in the GTDs is Joshua Howland Wolf. And let me correct myself, it's the wrong Quinn, it is Matt Quinn in 17th. Taylor?
Winning in your GTD class and 21st overall will be Dawson Brock, followed by Trevor Barboski, who will be finishing 2nd with Kevin Santana in 3rd. Tim McLeish will be 4th, 24th in overall, with Mike Major rounding out your top 5 in the GTD class. Paul Slavonic will come home 26th overall with Shane Hunter 27th. Alan Hasepeck will come home 28th overall with Tyler Guillemette in 29th. 30th goes to Jay Frells. In the 31st position will go to Matt Owens. He did a great job with Mark Kudrowski will come home 32nd with Marty Jeffries 33rd. Sean Reese 34th with Robert Sklenka in 35th. Art Peck finished 4 laps down 36th overall. Joey Trungale will finish 37th overall with Mark Schendel 38th, Scott Corbin 39th, and Ryan Huff rounds out your top 40 drivers here. Joe?
Then you get to the drivers who started to have DNFs. Chris Costa back there, 41st, with Carter Cunningham, 42nd. Mark Wilson, Robert Cancian, and Billy Smith, of course. Armando Edwards with his trouble coming up the S's. Mark Jubinski, who we talked to, involved in that Armando Edwards incident. Dino Topic finishes 48th, mysteriously leaving. John Ulmer, cheese did not stay on the pizza here in New York. He is 49th overall. Lionel Duprat, 50th. And Sheldon Rosenbaum, 51st. O'Keefe and Homan did not start today. So that brings us to the interviews where we have our overall winner ready to talk to, Jason Girard. Let's pull him in. Now that it is 2 wins out of 4 races, Girard seems to be back in the game. Jason, congratulations. Does this count as a home win for you?
No, that's my Japanese track. This is kind of a second home, but first home's always Suzuka.
That makes sense. I couldn't forget about that. But clearly you felt at home here today. You didn't stretch away as quickly as we saw at the start at Road Atlanta, but it certainly seemed like things were generally under control for you.
Yeah, Billy was certainly giving me a run for my money. I don't know what happened to him back there. I think he got tangled up with some lap traffic going into the chicane there. I don't know what happened. I'll take a look at the replay. It looked like something happened to John Ulmer as well and Carter as well. So it certainly could have been a very interesting race had Billy not found trouble, because he was making me work for it in that first 10 minutes.
And to be honest, you had your own adventures throughout this race. There were a number of times that cars in front or directly behind you spun and wrecked. Did you catch any of those, or do you kind of do those fly by you and you don't even notice?
Oh, I noticed it when they spin in front of me. Yeah, that one incident. I think I also kind of grazed the wall, I think, going down the backstretch because of kind of an awkward situation between a GTLM and a GT3. Nothing good happens when all 3 classes kind of converge on one spot. So a few close calls, but when you got 50 cars circulating around the track for 60 minutes, it's inevitable that something bad's going to happen. You just got to know that it's going to happen and just kind of plan ahead and have a plan B ready to go.
Well, excellent stuff today. Yet again, you're back on track to maybe get yourself that championship title eventually. We hope to see you in 2 weeks' time at Mosport.
All right. I hope to be there too. Thanks, Joe.
That was Jason Girard, winner in the prototype class. Up next, we have Alex Simonik, our winner in the GTLMs, as Bill is going to talk to him.
Alex, congratulations. 4 for 4. Can we make 14 for 14? Is that doable?
Maybe. If Steven, is it Steven? Yeah, if Steven doesn't keep challenging me. It was really fun in the first 10 minutes or so, but I noticed he wasn't saving that much fuel, so I knew just to push harder and to push even more harder in the spots that he was lacking in. and it just turned out that he got some bad luck with traffic and just kept pulling away.
Yeah, I feel for it. He really tries hard to stick with you early on. We've seen it before. And then eventually you just start to ease away. Any close calls out there with traffic coming up behind or going by any?
I did have one. It was a GT3 out of the bus stop and then into the carousel. I was holding the outside and he kind of jolted to the left a little bit and it kind of caught me off guard. But other than that, it was pretty.
I want to talk configuration with you. Do you like the bus stop here at Watkins Glen, or do you like to go full speed down into the carousel?
I like the bus stop. More corners is more fun.
I agree. It is fun to watch. Hey, congratulations on another win. Keep it going. Let's try for 5 in a row next time.
All right. See you.
Alex Simonic, your winner in the GTLM class. Joseph?
We got 2 people to talk to, I believe, as Dawson Brock and Trevor Vavrovsky have joined Taylor here in the booth.
Yes, we got Dawson and Trevor. Congratulations for both of y'all on that 1-2 finish here at Watkins Glen. And Dawson, you almost gave us up in the booth a little bit of a heart attack with what was going on. Were you just trying to do a team photo, or?
It was his idea. It was his idea. He's like, "Hey, do you want to like do a side-by-side finish?" And I was like, It's like, I promise I won't take it for you. I'm like, I kind of had the trust issues at first, but I was like, okay, but isn't that gonna come off? Whatever. So we just did it, and I don't know.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a good team photo. And Trevor, what were you thinking about doing that team photo through that whole race, but also having to worry about trying to catch Dawson?
I mean, I was trying to keep up with him as long as I could. I got the gap down to just about a second before our pit stops, but I wasn't as good on fuel as he was, so I ended up taking a little bit more time in the pit stop and then a slowdown in that second stage of the race, and he just was gone. He just always had the pace a little bit more than me and was pulling away. But I figured, hey, gives you guys something to talk about. Maybe a little heart attack for Soup. Just
yeah, we're more me and Joe.
Yeah, we're gonna talk this one. He's a commentator. He could have texted us and let us know what's going on.
But again, I mean, congratulations, Dawson. Another great points day. Of course, another win here. I mean, were you expecting to pull off the hat trick today, or were you thinking maybe to just bring it home?
Me and Trevor both, we were we both got into the server early, so we got the cold track in practice. So we're like, yeah, we're 1-2 in practice, but it's just because the track, and that was the truth. Slavonic and Santana still had great lap times when we were on the track at the same time. Same thing in qualifying. Me and Trevor were able to get a lap down early on while the track was cold, and we got 2 really good times down, and everybody else, it seemed like they had off tracks or stuff and just didn't have a good first lap. And so we're like, well, you know what, they're gonna have that race pace because again, we just got lucky. And then the race came, and I didn't really get to see what happened back there, but we were both on our stuff. We were consistent. We didn't make mistakes. I didn't have an incident point the entire race. So and Trevor was the same. He got one late in the race. So we kept it clean, and I think that's really what set us apart.
And Trevor, do you have any thoughts on that as well?
I mean, between Sebring and Road Atlanta, I didn't even complete like a full lap with both those races put together before my car was upside down or in a wall or something terrible happened. So just to get like the opening lap done and be like, oh, I actually might get to complete a race. Was a pretty happy feeling for me, and then to see us slowly start to build that gap was really surprising, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations again, both of you, for your 1-2 finish here at Watkins Glen, and we look forward to seeing you at the next round.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was Dawson Brock and Trevor.
The last one we have today is Carter Kundinger, who did actually finish the race, but unfortunately many laps down. Carter, we got to see the replay of the incident between you, Ulmer, and I believe it was Topic. Yes, Dino Topic. What happened from your perspective? If you can remember, because you certainly look like you got rattled around a bit.
Oh, yeah, I can remember clear as day. But it was just basically a series of unfortunate events. I was in a little train of HPDs with me, Ulmer behind me, and McGarvey. And I was coming up on toe pitch right ahead of me, and we were coming out of the chute. And that's one of the corners where when I'm getting around the GT cars, if I shoot to the inside after the corner, I can usually speed out of there. But like as we got out of the chute, I could see toe pitch was getting a little loose ahead of me. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to hope that he goes into the wall if he's going to get loose. And so I shot to the outside coming out of the corner. And that was the wrong move because he ended up saving it and then came back across. And that's basically when chaos ensued. And then I ended up collecting Ulmer behind me. And I believe McGarvey got through clean. So, yeah, just a series of unfortunate events there.
Well, obviously taking a page from Lemony Snicket because you kept going at it and didn't give up. You came back out on track. And it didn't look like you really had many cars that you could overtake. So, I mean, what was the goal in that? Was it just was it pride or just more hoping that maybe you could scalp a few positions?
It was definitely more of the scalping positions. So I took the toe from all that, and I had like 20 minutes repairs. So I was like, all right, my race is mostly done. Got out of the session, hopped into the stream, and started watching. And then all of a sudden, I saw like 3 more HPDs drop out. And I was like, okay, well, I could either just accept defeat, or I could hop back in it and maybe get a few extra positions. And so the pit crew gave me a good enough car just so I could drive around the track at basically pace speed. And I was able to end up finishing instead of an 11th. I got all the way up to 7th. So I'd say that that's probably a pretty good finish, I guess, for where I was at.
That's true. I guess you did manage to overtake a few cars that themselves dealt with damage, but commiserations on this one. Will we see it Mosport in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, this one was just unfortunate. I had a fast setup. I knew I was going to be towards the top, and it's just one of those that just slipped right out of your grasp. So I'll be around hopefully for the rest of the season now that I basically have my 2 drop weeks out of the way. So.
Oh, always bad when those get taken away early on. That was Carter Kundinger, who was 42nd overall at the end of the day. It's going to bring us to the end of our broadcast as well. And before we go, we need to thank a few people. Of course, John Ulmer and everybody behind the scenes at the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge who helped put these things on. He has a lot of people that help him organize these, so a big thank you to those folks. Also to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Head on over to our YouTube page when you get the opportunity, and if you're not there already, there's a big red button that says subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, click that and you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time when we go up to Canada, just to hop across the border, really, to Mosport. That'll be Monday, May 20th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.